Next, our packet says convert each of the answers into the metric system. So, if we have yards, we have whatever, how would we go to the metric system from here? And I generally recommend using decimals because at the end of the day, converting from feet or whatever into meters, kilograms, and liters, it's going to be an approximation anyways. It's not an exact transition, whereas the transition of all the rest of the units is always exact because they're defined using those exact ratios like 3 to 1 or 12 to 1. But let's look at our first example. We had 42 inches to yards. And actually, since what I've given here is 1 foot and is equal to approximately 0.305 meters, that we use, we need to know how much we have in feet first. And also, I would want to start with a more exact value. But, if I started with the 42 over 12 was in feet, if you remember kind of before we converted into yards, we had that this was 42 over 12 feet. And that's kind of what we had in feet. And so if I wanted to convert that into meters, well, again, same idea. I'd want to put feet on the bottom and meters on top. Where I see that 1 foot is approximately equal to 0.305 meters. Or, roughly 3/10 of a meter in a fraction form. And you could use 3/10, that would be close enough, but let's go ahead and just use a calculator. 42 divided by 12, then I'm going to multiply by 0.305 divided by 1 is not, I don't need to bother with that. And that would end up giving me approximately 1.07 meters. So, 42 inches is pretty close to a meter. A little bit more. Maybe if you went down to 41 meters, it'd be even closer, but that would be something you could check. Now, what about 42 ounces? We found that was exactly 2 5/8 pounds. So let's go ahead and leave that as a mixed number. We had 21 over 8 pounds. And then we want to multiply that. Well, what our conversion factor here is that 1 pound is approximately equal to 0.454. Whoops. And again, let me go ahead and be careful to write this as a fraction. And I want it to be pounds into kilograms. Actually, notice this will be in kilograms, and we could also check what that would mean in regular grams, because grams is the normal measurement or the baseline measurement for the metric system, just like meters. So let's also convert to grams after. It's not very specific what this question wants us to do, but since I wrote the questions, this is what I had intended. Anyways, it says that 1 pound is roughly equal to 0.454 kilograms. So again, we have 21 divided by 8. That would be multiplied by 0.454. And again, divided by 1. The reason that these sort of conversion factors equal to 1 are so useful is because really you're either going to be directly multiplying or directly dividing. You don't actually have to do fractional math if you're spot on. But this would be approximately 1.14 kilograms. And remember, the metric prefix kilo means 1,000. So if we were to go to the regular base unit, again, we could then multiply this by, well, again, we'd want to know how many kilograms are in a gram. And by looking at the figure down here, there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram. And again, it's easy to go the wrong way, but the way I remember it is kilo means there's a lot of, it's bigger than a normal gram. So there's going to be a lot of grams in the kilogram. And this is a 1,000 to 1 ratio. And again, this chart tells you how many of this are in the baseline. So it's easy to read this incorrectly if you see what I mean. But basically, I need to multiply by 1,000. What I have is approximately 1,140 grams, which is quite a lot. But a kilogram is a more normal, I would say that's the more normal unit of measure for weight, because it's like something a little bit heavier. So roughly 2.5-ish pounds is about a kilogram. So if you think about what's something that's 2 pounds, like a pretty big chunk of meat, I guess. is about a kilogram in terms of what that means. But a gram is something much lighter. Like if you're measuring like a piece of paper or something very light, those, I don't know if you remember those little weights that, have been used historically to measure things. Those are often in grams because it's a much smaller scale of something. But anyways, and then if we're doing like say liquid, like pints or gallons, you could always use the conversion factor that a quart is pretty close to a liter. It's a little bit more than a liter. But let's say we were dealing with 42 pints. So 42 pints. Well, first I would need to make sure that I'm in quarts so that I could use this conversion factor. And luckily 2 pints is 1 quart. So I could just convert that right off the bat. 2 pints is equal to 1 quart. And then if I want to turn this into liters, I could use the liter conversion factor, which is 1 quart is approximately 0.946 liters. And this would give me an approximation to how much 42 pints is in liters. So 42 divided by 2 times 0.946. And you can do this math quite a bit easier if you just think, well, multiplying by 1, let's be more proper, is not going to do anything. So this is just directly this divided by 2, then multiplied by that. You can kind of skip the 1 and just, it's either going to be divided or multiplied depending on the situation. And this is going to give me about 19.87 liters, which is quite a lot, but there's a lot of pints in gallons. So 5 gallons is 19 liters. And liters is commonly used to measure like a 2 liter of soda is the bigger bottle you'd usually find in a store. And doing a few other things, like let's say we had a measurement in the metric system and we wanted to convert back to something else. Like this one says convert 42 kilometers to miles. Well, an easier thing you could do is you could just type it into Google, because Google has an automatic conversion built right into it. But we could go through a series of steps to do this. Let's go ahead and challenge ourselves to do this. So if we had 42 kilometers and want to know how far that is in a unit that we understand a little bit better, well, we need to know, well, how many kilometers are in a mile. So if we're going into our unit facts, well, the only length conversion that we have been provided with here is meters to feet. So we could, if we got this in meters, then we could figure out how many feet this was. So again, I would not recommend doing it this way. I would just look up how many kilometers are in a mile, and that's way simpler. But we can still figure it out. But basically, again, there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Oops, I put this in the wrong spot. So I want to convert to kilometers to meters first, because the only conversion fact that I have here is between the metric system and the US system is this one. So if I first get into meters, well, and remember there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer because that's what kilo means. Kilo means 1,000, so literally 1,000 meters. Then to put this into the US system, I can convert meters into feet. And again, there are 1 foot is about 0.305 meters. So 0.305 meters is equal to 1 foot approximately. And then now that I have it in feet, I could convert it into miles using the translation that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And after all this math, we should have how many miles is a kilometer. And let's just go ahead and run through it. 42 times 1,000 divided by 0.305 divided by 5,280. And all that put together gives me, again, I'm going to use the approximate symbol here because this conversion factor was not exact. All the rest of them were, and whenever there are exact, use the normal equal sign. But, again, with an approximate system, I'm going to always use the approximately equal to, which gives me about 26.1 miles. And, we have a pretty good understanding of what that is based on distance. So you wanted to know a marathon, how much that is, and you wanted to figure out, in terms of mileage. But anyways, Obviously, it would be way easier if you just type in Google, you know, how many miles in a kilometer, and it'll just tell you a direct ratio. And so what I could do is if I have 42 kilometers, I could just, I would need to multiply that by 0.621, and that would be obviously a way easier way of doing that. And very similarly, if I wanted to convert liters into gallons, I could start by going into quarts because that's the relationship that I've been provided with. So if I have 42 liters, I need to, I could first convert it to quarts because 0.946 liters is equal to 1 quart. And then now that it's in quarts, I could go to gallons using this one. So 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. So 4 quarts equal to 1 gallon. And that should be good to go. So I need to take 42, divide by 0.946, and divide by 4. And this would give me approximately 11.1 gallons. That's it for this one.